The Janitor's Reckoning, a tale of redemption and justice. The towering glass spires of Stratton Global gleamed against the morning sun, their mirrored surfaces reflecting the pulse of the bustling metropolis below. This was not merely a corporate headquarters, it was a fortress of power, a symbol of ruthless ambition. Inside, the hallways echoed with the hurried footsteps of employees whose lives revolved around impossible deadlines and relentless targets. At the pinnacle of this empire, seated in a lavish office that spanned the entire top floor, was Lucas Drexel, CEO of Stratton Global. At 53, Lucas embodied the textbook definition of corporate ruthlessness. His chiseled face bore the faint lines of age, but his icy blue eyes remained sharp and predatory. Every strand of his silver-streaked hair was perfectly in place, complementing his meticulously tailored suit that spoke of obscene wealth. From his perch behind the massive mahogany desk, Lucas gazed out through floor-to-ceiling windows that offered a commanding view of the city. He relished the sensation of power, how the people below seemed no more significant than ants scurrying beneath his feet. A self-satisfied smirk tugged at the corner of his mouth as he reviewed Stratton's latest quarterly earnings. Profits had surged by 12%. Not enough, he thought. Never enough. A soft knock interrupted his reverie. "Come," Lucas barked without turning. His assistant, a timid young woman named Clara Benton, stepped hesitantly into the room. "Mr. Drexel, the board meeting starts in 5 minutes." Lucas finally turned, his expression as cold as steel. "I'll be there shortly. And Clara, those projections from accounting better be on my desk by noon. No delays this time." Clara nodded quickly. "Yes, sir." She left as silently as she had come. Lucas straightened his tie and strode toward the boardroom. His footsteps echoed ominously in the marble-floored hallway. As he entered, the room fell silent. Every executive present stiffened, eyes flicking nervously toward him. Without pleasantries, Lucas began. "Gentlemen, let's skip the formalities. Our profits are up, but not enough. I expect a 20% increase by the next quarter. I don't care how you make it happen. Cut costs, increase productivity, eliminate deadweight. Just do it." For the next hour, Lucas dominated the room, bulldozing objections, dismissing concerns, and making it painfully clear that failure was not an option. By the end of the meeting, the executives shuffled out, defeated and pale. Lucas returned to his office, barely noticing the evening cleaning crew preparing to start their shift. To him, they were invisible, as much a part of the furniture as the expensive chairs and glass conference tables. Among them was Daniel Shaw, a janitor who had worked quietly at Stratton Global for nearly 2 years. Daniel was in his late 50s, his once dark hair now flecked with gray. His uniform was always immaculate, his movements efficient and precise. He came and went each evening with little notice, blending seamlessly into the background, just the way he liked it. But there was more to Daniel Shaw than met the eye. Whispers and shadows. As Daniel moved through the hallways with his cleaning cart, he heard hushed conversations from the stressed employees. Fear of layoffs and impossible targets hung heavy in the air. 2 junior executives stood near the break room, whispering. "Did you hear?" one murmured. He asked the entire product development team. Said they didn't meet expectations. Lucas Drexel would sell his own mother if it bumped the stock price, the other replied grimly. Daniel said nothing as he emptied trash bins and wiped down tables. His hands worked methodically, but his sharp eyes missed nothing. He'd spent years developing the skill of remaining unnoticed while observing everything. And he noticed how Stratton Global was rotting from the inside out. The breaking point. Over the following weeks, the atmosphere at Stratton grew increasingly oppressive. Lucas pushed harder, demanding longer hours, greater sacrifices. Morale was collapsing. People jumped at shadows, fearful of sudden firings. Through it all, Daniel maintained his quiet routine. If the building felt like a pressure cooker ready to explode, he gave no outward sign of noticing. Then came the company's annual gala. Held in an opulent ballroom at a luxury hotel, it was an ostentatious display of wealth and power. Lucas, resplendent in his tuxedo, held court at the center of it all, champagne in hand, his practiced smile hiding the cruelty beneath. Daniel was there too, working as usual. But this time as part of the catering staff. He moved through the crowd with practiced grace, balancing trays of hors d'oeuvres. Most attendees didn't even register his presence. Lucas grew more abrasive as the night wore on. His charm wore thin with drink, and his true nature surfaced. At one point, he publicly berated a young server for a minor mistake, reducing her to tears. Daniel watched, impassive, but his dark eyes never left Lucas for long. The fall. Late in the evening, Daniel maneuvered through a tight cluster of guests. Someone bumped him from behind, and he stumbled straight into Lucas Drexel. Red wine spilled from Daniel's tray, splashing across Lucas's white tuxedo shirt. A stunned silence fell over the nearby guests as Lucas stared at the crimson stain seeping into his fabric. "You clumsy idiot!" Lucas roared. "Do you know how much this suit cost?" "More than you'll make in a lifetime." Daniel stood tall, his expression calm. "My apologies, sir. It was an accident." But Lucas was beyond reason. His arrogance and drunken fury surged unchecked. "An accident?" he sneered. "You're an accident. A worthless janitor who can't even carry a tray. People like you are a dime a dozen. I could replace you tomorrow." Daniel's gaze never wavered. There was something unsettling in his steady, measured stare. But Lucas, blind to everything but his own ego, pressed on. "You're fired," Lucas spat. "I don't want to see you in my building again." Daniel nodded once. "Understood." And with that, he quietly left the ballroom. A storm brewing. In the aftermath, Lucas dismissed the incident and returned to his circle of admirers. But not everyone forgot so easily. Aaron Sawyer, head of human resources, sought out Daniel before he left the building. "Daniel, wait," she said gently. "I'm so sorry." Lucas was completely out of line. Daniel gave a small, polite smile. "It's fine, Miss Sawyer." Aaron frowned. "No, it's not. We can fight this." "It's not necessary," Daniel replied. "I've dealt with worse." She studied him thoughtfully. "You're taking this remarkably well. We all have our pasts, Miss Sawyer. Mine just happens to be longer than most." As he left, Aaron couldn't shake the feeling that Daniel Shaw was no ordinary janitor. Shadows gather. Meanwhile, far from Stratton Global's gleaming towers, a new danger emerged. Anton Vargas, a brutal crime boss, sat at the head of a table in a smoky backroom. Around him, his lieutenants listened intently. "Apex is ripe," Anton growled. "Their CEO's arrogance blinds him. Stratton Global will be our front for laundering." He laid out floor plans, financial data, and employee profiles courtesy of an inside informant. "We'll offer Drexel a chance to cooperate. If he refuses," Anton trailed a finger across his throat, and his men chuckled darkly. The siege. Lucas Drexel found the first threat letter on his desk the next morning. It was direct, unmistakable. Pay or suffer. He dismissed it. "Scare tactics," he told Clara. "Amateurs." But the threats escalated. More letters arrived. Employees noticed men watching them. Some were followed home. Still, Lucas refused to acknowledge the danger. Then the storm broke. A team of armed men in tactical gear stormed Stratton Global. They moved with military precision, securing floors, taking hostages. Lucas was dragged to his office where Anton Vargas waited. "You should have paid," Anton said coldly. A call for help. Trapped in the chaos, Aaron Sawyer huddled with frightened employees. Then she remembered Daniel Shaw. She pulled out her phone and called him. "Daniel," she whispered, "we need help." "The operative awakens." "Miles away," Daniel answered. His voice changed, steady, assured. "I'm on my way." He gathered gear long stowed away. Weapons, tools. He drove toward Stratton, a ghost from his past reborn. Daniel infiltrated the building like a shadow, disabling guards, rescuing hostages, dismantling Anton's operation piece by piece. His special forces training took over. He was methodical, ruthless, and unstoppable. The final showdown. At last, Daniel confronted Anton in Lucas's office. The crime boss was furious, his gun trained on Lucas's leverage. "You're finished," Daniel said calmly. They fought, brutal and fast. Anton was strong. Daniel was stronger. Moments later, Anton lay subdued, his hands zip-tied. Lucas stared in disbelief at the man he dismissed as a janitor. Redemption. As police stormed the building, Lucas tried to reconcile the man before him with the hero who had saved them all. "I was wrong about you," Lucas admitted. "I'm sorry." Daniel nodded. "Just remember the lesson." Lucas offered Daniel a job, head of security. Daniel declined. "I have other messes to clean up." And with that, Daniel Shaw disappeared into the dawn, a quiet man with a dangerous past and a future full of purpose. Legacy. Stratton Global changed that day. So did Lucas Drexel. And the legend of the janitor who became a hero spread, a reminder that greatness often hides in plain sight. And somewhere, Daniel Shaw kept walking. Always watching. Always ready.